Good afternoon, everybody. Well, things are shaking apart nicely just before the budget tomorrow. I wonder what goodies they're going to promise to eclipse this news cycle, because SNC-Lavalin is not going away, and it's still making heads roll. It's still taking out people in the PMO's inner circle and the Prime Minister's inner circle. Currently, it's the Clerk of the Privy Council. So Abigail Bimman is tweeting, quote, "Breaking, Clerk of the Privy Council, Michael Wernick, is retiring, being replaced by Ian Schugert," sorry if I've got that wrong, who is Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, PMO. Wernick has testified twice in the SNC-Lavalin affair, hashtag Canadian Polly. Wernick says, quote, "Recent events mean he can't serve as clerk during the election, and, quote, there's no path for me to have a relationship of mutual trust and respect with the leaders of the opposition parties. Resignation letter to the PM is here." And we'll look at that right now. Whew. I told you there's going to be more to this story, and I still think there's going to be more. So this is canada.ca, and the link is in the description. You can read it for yourself, but it says, "Letter to the Prime Minister. The Right Honourable P.J. Trudeau." Justin. "Dear Mr. Prime Minister, recent events have led me to conclude that I cannot serve as Clerk of the Privy Council and Secretary to Cabinet under the upcoming election campaign. Therefore, I will be taking steps to retire from the public service well before the writ of election is issued. One of the key roles of the Privy Council office is to be ready to assist whichever government Canadians elect in October. It has been my privilege to work with the transition teams of 3 prime ministers. It is now apparent there is no path for me to have a relationship of mutual trust and respect with the leaders of the opposition parties. Furthermore, it is essential that during the writ period, the clerk be seen by all political parties as an impartial arbiter of whether serious foreign interference has occurred. Therefore, I wish to relinquish these roles before the election. It is essential that Canadians continue to see their world-leading public service as non-partisan and there to provide excellent service to Canadians and the governments they elect. The timing of my retirement is something we should discuss, as your government will have a busy cabinet agenda until the end of the parliamentary session, and you will want to seek advice on how best to address succession. I will have more to say later, but I would be remiss if I did not use this letter to thank you for the confidence you have placed in me over the past 3 years and the opportunity for extraordinary personal and professional experiences in service of my country. Sincerely yours, Michael Wernick." So, yeah, crazy conspiracy theorist Michael Wernick worried about assassination attempts and all sorts of crazy things during his testimony to the Justice Committee, but not answering the questions he was asked, which is typical of liberals these days. Says, yeah, I can't be seen as nonpartisan after all of that. And I would 100% agree with him. There is no coming back from that. You can't unring that bell. So, interesting. Financial Post was reporting, and this is today, and I flagged this one right away when I saw it because I thought it was a really good takedown of what has been ignored in Trudeau's Canada. And man, I really can't wait for the rule of law to again apply in Canada to everyone equally and to start getting rid of, or at least getting these people off the streets. Anyway, Financial Post is reporting, quote, "All of Canada under threat for Liberals' refusal to uphold law concerning returning ISIL fighters." And says, "An Ontario man who spent 4 years fighting for the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, languishes in a Syrian prison while his wife and 2 children, and with his wife and 2 children, and wants the Canadian government to bring them home. Why shouldn't I be able to go home?" he said in an interview with CTV. "I've done nothing in Canada. I've broken no laws there at all." Wrong. Under Section 83.181 of the Criminal Code, anyone who leaves or tries to leave to commit an offence that is indictable in Canada is liable to imprisonment for up to 10 years. And yet, the Liberals have failed to apply the law fully to jihadists who have returned. Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodall told the House in 2017 that, quote, "the number of returnees is in the order of 60, he said, and the fighters considered a threat are monitored. Further, they will be tried if there's any evidence they acted outside the law. Why not try them now? They left. Put them in jail. Goodness." Back to the article. "But they should all have been imprisoned for a decade for simply leaving to join ISIL. The Tories had it right in 2015 when they wanted to strip them of their citizenship and forbid them from returning. With thousands now in custody in the Middle East, this is exactly what some countries are doing instead of allowing these time bombs to wander into their societies." And I'm going to pause here. I want to mention, I think Stephen Harper's biggest failing in the election year of 2015 was failing to communicate accurately how dangerous the threat was of the borders being opened and these returning ISIL fighters coming back, and why he needed to strip Canadian citizenship, etc., from foreign fighters. That was one of the Bill C-52, I think, or Bill C-51. I can't remember. Is this a Victoria, Vancouver moment? I apologize, everyone. But there was a bill in Harper's government, I think it's C-51, and that was the terrorism bill, and everybody was really upset about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And his communication was just not very good. He didn't communicate it very well. So here we are. And they being the Liberals, did exactly what Mr. Harper said they would do during the debate. He said they're aching to open up our borders, throw the borders wide open and let everybody in. And I mean, that's exactly what happened. So interesting. Okay, back to the article. Here in Canada, the Liberals have done virtually nothing, which endangers everyone. In December 2018, terrorism researcher Professor Armenizin-Am, sorry, man, I got your name totally wrong there, and I'm not even going to try it again, with the George Washington University Center for Cyber and Homeland Security Extremist Program, said only 4 of the 19 Canadians he identified as having returned from Syria and Iraq had been charged. 2 were found guilty and 2 are waiting to go on trial. 5 more were given terrorism peace bonds, now expired. Peace bonds for violent, brainwashed killers? No consequences for most of the 60? No exact numbers? Clearly, Ottawa has been derelict in its duty to protect the public. A December 2018 report drafted by the Federal Department of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness said it is, quote, conceivable all 60 returnees could commit, quote, low sophistication terrorism attacks, including knife and vehicle attacks, CBC reported. In February, the Tories pushed a motion to force the federal government to come up with a legal strategy for dealing with jihadists. Exasperated Tory immigration critic Michelle Rempel said to the Liberal Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodall, "It's their job to keep Canadians safe, ... When will this government get serious?" And I scroll down. Britain recently canceled the U.S. citizenship of a pregnant ISIL wife who holds another citizenship. The United States also canceled the citizenship of an ISIL spouse born in the United States. Most foreign fighters who joined ISIL perished as their caliphate was destroyed. They fortified their citizenship and should be rejected altogether. Instead of a strategy of any kind, the Liberals once more fail to uphold the rule of law, a lapse that poses a threat to all Canadians. I agree entirely with a lot of what this article says, and it's very disappointing and just disheartening to watch what's continually happening because of the open borders in Europe to Paris. I mean, Act 18 was this past Saturday, and it's very violent. They're lighting banks on fire, and that's in Paris. And watching London be taken over. I mean, it's incredible, and we're watching it in real time. You know, people sometimes can't see the forest from the trees. We can watch YouTube and see the forest from the trees in Europe, and we are not acting. Our government is not acting. And instead, they're putting out, bulletins to these people saying, no, come to Canada, it's all fine. They're trying to bring Jihadi Jack to Canada until that fell apart, probably because of the United States. And I didn't report on that because it was a little bit further out from where I usually report. But these things are happening, right? People should be aware. So, and SNC-Lavalin is not going away, not by a long shot. Taking down the clerk of the Privy Council, that's a big head to roll. Almost as big as Gerald Butts himself. So stay tuned. We're either heading for an earlier election or a really rocky summer and rocky ride to the writ dropping close to September. Well, mid-August, I suppose, 50 days. So whatever that is. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, everybody. And stay safe out there. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca.